My guest today is Suresh Bhagchandani. Suresh is a senior sales leader, entrepreneur, and community builder. As senior sales manager at Progress, he leads high-performing teams driving multi-million dollar growth. He also owns F45 Training West Cary, blending fitness with community impact, and founded Exec Socks, a creative retail venture. A keynote speaker and real estate investor, Suresh inspires audiences with his people first approach to sales, love it, leadership, and entrepreneurship, always striving to create a legacy his son will be proud of. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, Diane. I'm so honored and I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I am so thrilled to have you here. Um, we are, I will say, somewhat of like mind when it comes to some of these things, though, right?
Awesome. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So now you say um, that companies um, should be focusing on process, not just outcomes.
Mhm.
Will you share more of, that thought process, why you feel that way and what it does?
Absolutely. I believe like process is something which is very, very important for any kind of sustainable growth, you know. And most businesses, typically what they do, and especially smaller ones, they just focus on results. They really don't focus on what exactly is the processes of like day to day. And that's the reason why the results are always kind of like lagging indicators because they always think like, oh, this is where I need to get to. The real drivers are like something that you can set it up, repeatable systems, and which is basically the processes. How exactly the customer comes in, how are you qualifying the leads, how are you running the meetings, how are you handling a follow-up? If there is a process for that, your life will be way better. And early in my career, I'll tell you, I was focused on like closing deals. Now I focus on like refining the processes that creates deals. And when you improve your process and every single day you're getting better at it, you build a better predictability and you scale that business and as well the work that you're doing. And you're not just relying on your heroes, you're really relying on your habits. And this is one thing, I'm not sure if you've read this book called Atomic Habits. One of the best books. Like, you just have to be consistent and just keep doing the same thing. And that's where you will keep growing, probably 5x, 10x. That's the reason why I feel like processes are very, very important in any kind of sustainable growth.
Boy, I so get that. And I hear exactly what you're saying about, we end up focusing so much on outcomes that we don't even pay attention to the process or making sure that we've got a system in place and that we know how this thing needs to move along so we can monitor it to make sure we're getting to our outcomes and then wonder why
Yeah.
they don't happen.
So
Crazy.
true. Yeah, it's wild. And it's
Yeah.
a very small thing, Diane. And it's the most overlooked part in any business you start because people are just chasing, oh, I sold this, I sold this. But how did you get the customer? How did you talk to them? And when you're talking to them, there's a process of it. How are you following up with them? There's a process for it. Are you asking the right questions? And if you're checking the box, you're onboarding, everything else, and regardless of who you put behind the calls or behind the Zoom call,
Yeah.
we're going to do the same thing and they will have a same experience. Regardless, they talk to me, they talk to you, they're like, oh, I got the same experience. Like Amazon, when you go to, it's the same experience. Nobody has a different experience than you and me. You order the same way that I do.
Right.
Processes like locked down.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Okay, my next question is this. Talk to me about why you believe that investing in people development is one of the best ways to improve a business.
I think it's another big piece that I like to focus on is, and this is something I've believed in for like past like 10 years or so. Like I've been a big fan of it. It says growth follows people. Growth really doesn't follow any plans. Like it just like follows people. So you are, I mean, whatever your people are, they are your multiplier. So it's basically like the jolt effect or the 10x effect. The biggest mistake I personally feel like the leaders make is assuming training is a cost instead of investment. And training means like training your employees. So when you coach your team, not just manage them, which I personally see myself as a coach and a mentor, not a manager, because whenever I use that word manager, it's just I'm managing that team. Like I'm not managing, I'm coaching you to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And when you change that mindset of a coach and a mentor to your team, you're automatically building confidence in your team. You're automatically building loyalty. You're automatically building creativity because you're giving them that space to grow. And I'll give you a perfect example from the Functional 45 studio that we acquired back in March. We don't just like train coaches on workouts because that's a very easy one. Like, all right, it's a gym. I should just train all my coaches or my studio manager or my head coach on just workouts. We train them on like, how to build a connection and how to actually connect with the community, how to actually introduce and how to actually like make them feel welcome. And we kind of like do a lot of different exercises just saying like, hey, connect with them. And that's what turns a normal gym into a community. Because think about it. There are 9 million Planet Fitnesses out there. Nothing against them.
Yeah.
It's a community. It is just that same boring workout, you go, listen to your music, and come back. Community will actually keep pushing you on every single day, and you're looking forward for it, even if it's a pretty bad class. You're like, well, man, I'm looking forward to go hang out with Diane because I get to see her every day, 6:30 in the morning for my workout.
Yeah.
And a team into a movement because now it's pretty much the whole community who's moving that whole city or that studio together. So that's why I feel like investing into people development is one of the best ways you can improve your business.
That is so awesome. I completely agree with that. Absolutely. And well, I mean, you just got my gears going with that, thinking about uh well, like when I go to the gym, it's a solo thing. Even though there's all those people there, right? It's a totally solo experience.
Mhm.
But wouldn't it be great if it wasn't? So, yeah.
Yes, yes, it makes a huge difference because recently I shared experience. One of the members, I think she's fairly, I would say like early like 40s. Her father actually passed away,
Mm.
and it's so sad, right? All we really had to do, Diane, is all my coaches and everybody else. We just signed a card and we said like, hey, just an FYI, like I know it's hard, it's tough on you. We gave her a hug. She came back after like 2 days. We gave her the card, and she was so touched by that small thing that because she just said like, hey, I signed up, I couldn't make it because I had a sudden death in my family and that card and that emotions. I mean, she was literally in tears. She's like, I
I'll
can't believe
bet.
I have a community who's supporting me. We all I had to say, being the owner, I'm like, hey, we are here for you and your families in our prayers, but we are glad that you can come for a workout and we are here for you. So if you need anything, we're a phone call away. And that
Yeah.
touched so well. And
Yeah.
it's a small thing. It's just a card. But
Yeah.
it's the community feeling that they all are writing a small message saying, don't worry, that shall pass.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's tremendous. Okay, here's my favorite part, to tell you the truth. Um, because you talk about how curiosity is such a powerful tool in sales and leadership, and I am so down with that. That's curiosity is my favorite word. I've changed always be closing to always be curious, just absolutely. Um, but talk to us about how curiosity actually translates into better business outcomes.
I agree with you. And one thing I'll tell you with curiosity, if there's a course called Selling Through Curiosity, which is one of my favorite ones. Curiosity is something that builds trust. And guess what? That trust drives everything else.
Yeah.
Because if you're asking like questions like point blank saying, tell me this, tell me that. What about this, Diane? Like, what about this? Your whole tone and your mindset and what you're coming across is just like, man, this guy's just asking me questions left and right. Like, man, good God, like, give me a break. And if you really change the tone and feel that way, hey,
Yeah.
I'm very curious and I'm just being curious. I'm not being nosy. I'm just curious. Like, why would you do this process in a certain way? That word and the way you say the sentence, that other person's already at ease saying, oh, he's just curious.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just curious. Did you like an iOS or an Android, whatever?
Yeah.
You're not like point blank saying why iOS. You're like, okay,
Right.
take it easy, man. Like, what do I do? So curiosity is something like changes the tone of every single conversation. Instead of trying to convince someone, or you're trying to understand them. That's one
Yes.
of the things because when you're in sales, like for example, you and me were connecting via Zoom. Like, it's the way I would say things that you're like, huh. And these days with like Gen X and everything, they're all texting.
Yeah.
You really don't know the emotions behind it. Is he rude? Is he upset? But if they're just using a certain word saying, hey, I'm just curious, like, why would you say that?
Yeah.
You're not offended. You're like, oh, you're just curious. And in sales, that means I personally feel like asking better questions, not can I show you a demo or saying, hey, what's holding you back on this workflow right now?
Yeah.
It uncovers the pain point. It even like strengthens our like relationship and makes you a trusted advisor. That's what I personally feel like. And you're
Yeah.
more of a consultant than a salesperson.
Yeah.
There's 9 million salespeople out there, which are like, oh God, another sales call, which I'm pretty sure, Diane, you get so many sales calls as well too. But if somebody is actually trying to actively listen and ask you
Yes.
curious question, like, hey, I'm just curious, like, why this process? I'm not saying wrong or right. I'm
Yeah.
just willing to learn. And makes you a trusted advisor. So whether it's a customer, whether it's an employee as well too. So this method actually works for not just your customer, it actually works for your employees too. Like in my team, hey,
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, that behavior. Is there something bothering you outside work? Or I'm just trying to know. So at
Yeah.
least I can know better. And they will be like, no, not really. I don't know why I did that. And that's where like, oh, it's okay. We're all humans. We make a mistake. And
Right.
even with a partner. And there are times like with my wife, and I'll be honest with you, like, relationships sometimes it goes up and down because you are an entrepreneur. But again, that whole curiosity, like, hey, I'm very curious, like, why this?
Yeah.
And that's where you're like, oh. And if imagine you asking your wife, like, why did you go to Target again? Why did you buy this? And you're like, hey, I'm just curious, like, why did we buy this? Do we need it? Or whatever that case is. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree, 100%. And curiosity, I feel like in sales, like, turns transactions into trust, which is one of like my biggest thing because every time people just think like, transact, make money and move on. But they forget to actually build a trust with the customer. So once I build a trust with you
Yeah.
in being curious, then you and me, we have a long-lasting relationship. We're not gonna
Right.
any point of time you need to buy a new product or anything like that. You're like, Suresh, I remember like last time you were answering this thing for
Yeah.
me. I'm just trying to understand where should I go? I need your help. And you're just
Right.
trying to help them, which is completely fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And the questions aren't accusations, right? They're we ask them so we can learn,
Yes.
right? Like that's what I always say. You need to listen to learn, not listen to tell or listen to confirm or listen to, anything else. And I so agree with you. It builds that trust because what you're telling them is they are more important. You understanding them is more important than you having a transaction with them, getting
Agreed.
money from them, right?
Yep.
And so, and you may not be able to help them. You may not want to. How
It's
are you going
okay.
to know if you don't ask questions?
Yep.
Just,
And one thing I'll say with curiosity, and I don't know if you have heard about this famous leader. I think his name is Tony Robbins, and I'm actually a huge follower of him. He always talks about like understanding those patterns, and the only way to understand the pattern is staying curious.
yeah,
Customer, like where exactly is this customer going, or where exactly is this company going, or his department is going. So you don't understand those patterns to see, oh, they're moving in this direction and I need to understand and pitch my product accordingly. And a lot of times your product might not be a good fit, but
yeah,
at least the customer will appreciate like, man, he cared and he's genuinely thinking, where can I fit in my product in your
yeah,
journey? Because you're trying to understand the patterns of that customer, meetings after meeting, curious questions after questions,
yeah,
where you're kind of building on like, okay, this is where I see the company's moving or the product is moving. But it helps a lot because understanding pattern is one of the biggest signs of you understand that part,
yeah.
solving so many different puzzles out there.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah. And it's just so, you know, the your client's ever changing. So what they need today is not necessarily what they need a month from now. And
Oh
if you're
God.
not having those conversations and you're not being curious and you're not learning about how they're doing and what's going on with them, you can't continue to be a resource for
Yeah.
them, whether it's with what you sell or not, right? And having and maintaining that trusted then, and you're right, it's just transactional and that's not sustainable.
Yeah, it might be you get a transaction now, 2 years later, you're like, hey, he just calls me when he needs money. That's
Right.
not the pattern you want. Like, your brand shouldn't be in front of customers saying, Suresh always called me when he needs the money. That's it. He
Yeah.
never called me after that. He doesn't care. When he calls, like that's not what you need. It's like he calls me, he just genuinely want to connect. Like
Yeah.
you'll be surprised, Diane. Like there's a random day that I'm gonna call you and say, hey Diane, I have nothing on the agenda. I just want to connect. How's life been?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
What did you do all day? Like that. And I'll be sharing this thing with me because I have a 6-year old and my wife and my mom. So I'll be sharing like, oh, that's what my son did. That's what
Yeah.
we're trying to learn. And we're trying to figure out like he's in first grade now. And he's, oh my God, he's been learning vocabulary like no other. So I'm like, oh, where did you learn this from? Or probably some book or something you watched.
Yeah. Hey, the more you read to them, the more they know. That's all I'm
Yes.
saying, right?
Yes.
Or read with them. So, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Oh my
100%.
gosh. I have so enjoyed this conversation. And I know I'm biased because I agree with everything that you said.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. I think I loved it as well too. I think you're asking the right questions.
Yeah, it's terrific. Will you tell the listeners how they can find you, please, so they can get curious about you?
On LinkedIn, Suresh Bhagchandani. Please follow me, follow my content. I actually write, I'm very active on it. And I do share my day to day, like, things that I've dealt with, things what I'm dealing with, things what I'm trying to do. So yeah, please follow me on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Thank you. And listeners, thank you. You are who we're doing this for.